Well, I want to pivot over and spend the rest of our time just kind of talking with Emily Haskins today. So, Emily, are you able to unmute?
Yep.
Perfect. Well, thank you for joining us, first of all. I actually went back and I pulled some numbers last night that I put in kind of the introductory email for today. And I think there's two astounding numbers. It's been fun to watch you grow in the business over the last couple of years. But I think you began in the business back in August of 2021, right?
I signed my contract. Yep.
Yep. So that's when you signed your contract. So 2022 was your first year in the business.
Yep.
2023 was your second year. And as I looked at things, just looking back at your cash compensation, what I was able to pull is that you had, I think it was 142% increase in your income in your second full year in the business. And then I pulled the numbers on cash compensation through the first 6 months of this year. And you're up another 91% in income year over year in your technically your third year in the business. So that's an incredible growth pattern. And so that's one of the reasons why I asked you to speak today. I will say, you know, some of the speakers that I've had and I will have are tier 3 and tier 4 agents who maybe at the top of their game and maybe, you know, 10, 12, 15 years into the business. I thought it was important to bring Emily in because she's not yet a tier 3 or tier 4 agent. She's well on her way to hitting tier 3, but she's a tier 2 agent. She's had some incredible success early in the business, but she's much closer to that starting point in the business than some of us are. And I know a lot of you on this call, you're just getting started in the business. And so I think Emily can offer some insights. I hope you can learn a little bit from, you know, her comments and things today. So Emily, I figured it'd probably be best to just start off by telling us your story a little bit. You know, where did you come from? Where did you grow up? How did you even find out about health markets? And if you'd like to give us a little bit of the backstory, that'd be a great place to start, I think.
Absolutely. So I live in Plymouth currently. I married into the area. I grew up in North Liberty, so in St. Joe County, but just in a tiny little town. Um, at 20 years old, I went into the legal field and worked as a legal assistant for the next 15 years of my life. And my husband back in 2020 decided that he was going to go ahead and buy out the family business. So we had to figure out what we were going to do for his insurance because it was going to be $800 a month to add him to my health insurance through my employer. And we said, no way. So at that point, my husband Matthew became a client of Silas's. Silas was our agent. So then come 2021, I was in a very specialized position in the legal field. Nobody else in my office knew how to do my job. They would not get me any help. We then had somebody pass away in South Bend who was in the same field that I was in, and we had to absorb his caseload overnight. So overnight, my workload went up 100%. I started having health issues, panic attacks. I remember sitting in my car sobbing one day, convincing myself to get out of my car and go into the office. And finally, at that point, my husband looked at me and said, enough's enough. Like, you've got to find something else to do. You're miserable. This is affecting you. It's affecting our marriage because you're never happy. And right at that point in time, he got an email from Silas saying, hey, we're looking for agents. We're looking to expand our team. Do you know of anybody that might be interested? And he forwarded it to me and said, I want you to consider doing this. I think it took me about 3 weeks of him poking and prodding me before I finally reached out to Silas and said, all right, I may be interested. I'm looking for a career change. Can we have a conversation? And it all went from there. That was in mid-June, I want to say. It wasn't until mid-July that Silas and I actually started talking. And we had a few conversations. It was all still being done by Zoom at that point. And then mid-August, I want to say it was August 10th, maybe, I signed my contract. So best decision that I've ever made.
So I got to believe, and I want to just get your perspective a little bit, coming from a steady work environment where you're getting, you know, paid, I don't know if it was salary or hourly wage, but it was guaranteed. You showed up, you got paid, leaping into becoming self-employed. If you hadn't done that before, like what did that look like for you? And how did you navigate through that?
It was a little terrifying at first because I was an hourly, it was not salary, but I knew what to expect every single week. But because my husband had taken over the family business the year prior and was now self-employed, we were thankfully in a financial position that we knew that as I was getting myself off of the ground, he would be able to support us through that. So it was a little bit less of a concern for me than I think it may be for a lot of other people.
Yeah, sure. So, looking back on it, do you feel like you got off to a quick start, a slow start? What is your perspective on how things happened, those first 6 to 8 months?
I view it as I have grown at a steady pace, but a slower pace because I've been able to do it organically. There wasn't this immediate pressure of like, you've got to get up off the ground because you have to be making $3,000 a month within 3 months. So I've been able to grow just at a steadier pace. But I did meet all of the Agent Accelerator program goals. So, I mean, I at least was able to stay on track with that, which was one of my early goals.
Right. I kind of want to start with, what were these activities, these granular activities that you did, early in your career, those first 3, 6, 8 months that really kind of launched things for you?
So I was reaching out to all of my friends and family, because they all want to see you succeed in your new field. So I was reaching out to all of them to say, hey, here's what I'm doing now. Do you know of anybody that may need help? I also sent out a letter to, I believe it was 3,000 people within a 20-mile radius in my community, just introducing myself. Hey, I'm a new small business owner, grew up in North Liberty. Here's what I'm going to be doing. I'd love it if you would, allow me to help you, or if you know of anybody that you might refer me. I wasn't hesitant to put myself out there as a new business owner because I was focusing in my community. And that letter ended up in the hands of a small business owner in North Liberty, went to school with their daughter and son. And they reached out to me and said, yeah, we're looking at breaking up our small group that we have. Um, and they wanted me to work with their client or their employees that were on the small group, as well as all of the other employees who were not, that they wanted to set up with some supplemental products, life insurance policies and things like that. So that was actually what kept me on track with the Agent Accelerator program, was that one business. That one letter ended up in the right hands.
So how did you source that 3,000? Did you go use the Yellow Pages? Did you use some other resource? How'd you find those 3,000 business?
No, I used a lead purchasing program. At that point, I believe I think with that one, it might have been a company called Leads Please. Now I exclusively use Target Leads when I purchase my list of leads. They're really great. They'll allow you to dial back, like I want this demographic area, or I want this radius within my address, or I want this age range, or this income level, and you can basically set the parameters to whatever you want.
Yep. And I would say Target Leads is a company that we've used for a long time. And they can, build a list based on demographic, income, age, whatever you want. I will also put a plug in though that Marketing on Demand now has those capabilities as well. And so if you want to work with Jared Sandin through Marketing on Demand, he can pull a specific demographic like that. I think about a lot of you getting started, and I think this is kind of Emily's focus, and we probably talked about it back then. I don't remember if we did exactly, but targeting those companies with 0 to 10 employees, who are within a certain radius of you. And you're not, I mean, geographically speaking, you're not in a densely populated area, right?
At all.
I mean, you don't have South Bend's probably the biggest big city. I mean, Plymouth is there as well. But it's very much rural, small community.
Yeah.
And yet you've been able to, dig deep where you are and obviously generate a lot of business from that. So that's great. With that company, how many employees did they actually have?
They have 10 employees. And I believe I've got 2, 3, 5 of them
Mhm.
on health insurance, and now they're covered through the marketplace.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
and then the other 5 that we just set up with Subs in Life.
Great. What other things did you do early? Because I know you did a lot of organic stuff.
Dial the phones.
Yep.
Dial the phones. Oh my gosh. Least favorite thing to do. Like, I'm perfectly upfront about that. I'm an introvert. So calling and having people be extremely unpleasant with you occasionally is hard, but you do it and you continue to do it. And it's the ones that do pan out that you're dialing for. So everybody else just move past it, keep going, and just keep dialing. So I was probably, I think, starting out because I launched right ahead of the OEP. So dialing, I remember sitting there talking myself into dialing the phone the first time and how terrified I was. But I want to say during the OEP, I was dialing 300, 350 calls a week.
In those early months in that first year, did you track things pretty closely on what you did?
Did. I held myself accountable. I did the PTS every single week.
Yep.
And told myself I was going to continue doing the PTS until I hit tier 2. For me, I had always only been employed. I was always an employee. So I had a hard time actually transitioning into the mindset of, okay, I am my own employer now. I am my boss. So that was harder for me. And I knew when I hit tier 2 that I wanted to step back from the PTS because I felt like it was going to help me embrace the fact that I don't actually answer to an employer now. I am my own boss. Because while I was continuing to do the PTS, it was still like, okay, I feel like Silas is my boss, my guy. So I was holding myself accountable to that, which was great, but I had to personally step back from it. But I highly encourage, you have got to hold yourself accountable every single week when you're starting out.
And you did that well. I don't think you ever missed a week. You would send it. I could give you feedback. I could see that you were on track. I knew you were going to hit your agent accelerator milestones because of the inputs that I was able to see going into the business. I think we tweaked some things along the way because you have data to be able to make tweaks to things, right? If you don't have that data, it's really difficult to be able to make those tweaks. So yeah, that's great. So just to kind of, for the rest of the crew, I kind of know some of this stuff, but do you have a storefront? Are you virtual? How do you conduct business in your day-to-day operations today?
So I do not have a storefront. I work out of my home, but I do have a dedicated office space in my home because I was too distracted when I was trying to do it out and about in the rest of the house. I do all of my Medicare is 100% in person. So I conduct face-to-face with every Medicare client. For my under 65 market, I want to say probably 75% of them are actual virtual and 25% I do in person. Just different demographics, different generations. They tend to prefer over the phone, Zoom. So that's what I focus on.
So when you say in person, you're traveling to the client, to their home, their business? What does that look like for you? Are you using other, other venues and things, or are you typically meeting them at their home or their business?
So typically speaking, I do meet at their home. I do have an office space that is available to me here locally. Because I am also a township trustee, so I do have an office that's available to me to use when I have somebody who's like, oh, well, I've got construction going on at my home. Can we meet somewhere else? But the majority of the time, I'd say 95% of the time, I'm going to clients' homes. And that's one of the things that I use to market myself. So in my turning 65 letters that I send out, at the bottom, I write a handwritten note on every single letter that goes out. And it says, I hope you'll allow me to help you. I do typically travel to my clients. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me. And then I had put their personal name on it.
So being a female, have you had any issues or concerns from a safety perspective or being in people's homes? Has that been weird at all, or any strange experiences around that?
Oh, as a female, there's always going to be that initial like pause when you know you're going into a home, you're meeting with a gentleman. Am I okay to feel safe or not? Especially having a husband who's a retired police officer. So like we're very aware of safety for Emily. So I do actually tell all of my clients this when, they will inevitably offer you food, drink, everything. And I just tell all of my clients, my husband says I am not allowed to accept food or drink in anybody's homes. He's very aware of my safety. He's a retired police officer. And all of them say like, nope, yep, totally get it. Yeah, absolutely. You need to be aware of that. So everybody is perfectly fine with it if you're just honest with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that's something sometimes people use I've heard females use as an obstacle in their mind of going to meet with clients is the safety thing. And you know, knock on wood, but I can say I've never known of a situation with our agents where someone has been in an adverse situation. Obviously, we want to be careful and thoughtful about that because, you know, bad
Absolutely.
things happen to good people. But we don't see that. I think if you're doing the right thing and taking care of people, you know, typically dealing with great people.
And I think you can trust your gut too. I mean, you're going to have phone conversations with these people before you go sit down with them. Trust your gut. I did actually have an instance where okay, I'm not turning down any clients. I'm new enough. Like, I want all the clients, guys. But I had one guy who was extremely persistent, and he lived about 2 hours away and couldn't get in contact with him regularly. And I ended up saying, like, let me help you find an agent who's closer to you because we're having communication issues and I need to make sure I can communicate with my clients. And he was very persistent about, no, no, I want you to be my agent. Like, let's set something up. You can come to me, or hey, I'll even come to you. And it's like, no, you know, this isn't going to work. Let me help you find somebody else. So you have to trust your gut in situations like that.
Yep, 100%. So I'm curious now, you know, you're in your third full year. We're not in the crazy busy time of year because we're not in the AP, OEP. How many appointments a week are you running this time of year?
This time of year, on average, I'm at about 3 appointments a week. Sometimes it's a little bit more, and honestly, sometimes it's a little bit less. Like, I'm still building my business. So it's right now circling back with clients and setting up policy reviews. Do we need to have a conversation? How's everything going? And then the referrals that are coming in, or the turning 65 leads that are coming in that I'm focusing on.
Yeah. What about during AEP? How many appointments were you running a week during AEP last year?
Yeah, I went back and I looked. It was anywhere from 12 to about 22 appointments a week.
So it definitely, you were
There's
able
a
to keep
huge
up during
bump.
the feeding frenzy. Yeah, that's great. So where do most of your leads come from today? Are you still taking leads through Lead Connect? Do you take live transfers? Is it referrals? Is it personally generated leads? Like what's that look like for you today?
Right now, I am not purchasing any leads. I may, as we get closer to the fall, turn on the leads and just see what comes out of it. The majority of my leads now are coming in through referrals and marketing. So, like I said, I market the T65 mailers. I purchase lists of 3,000 names. I'm sending out several hundred letters a month. So I've got leads coming in from that. But the majority of them right now are referrals coming in.
And it's you don't have anybody helping you at this point, right? No assistant, no sub agents, anything like that. So you're making all of your own outbound calls to set things up. You mentioned earlier how important the phone work was and how scary the phone work can be, and how I think a lot of agents have what we refer to as call reluctance. It's like the phone is 900 pounds some days, right? But I'm just curious, how do you navigate that? How many calls are you making on a weekly basis? Like, how many times do you feel like you need to dial the phone each week to be able to get the output that you need? You want to talk through that a little bit?
So right now I am focused more on client service than I am, because I'm not purchasing new leads. So, you know, when you start in Medicare, you'll find out you can't cold call people in Medicare. So it's not like I'm dialing Medicare leads off of my lists. So I have an Excel spreadsheet that I've set up that I track all of my client lines of business. And I create columns on there that say, like, a touch point with your client. So I am making sure that, like, I go in and I have a touch point with all of my clients. So I'd say 20 calls a week, at least, to my existing client base to say, hey, how's everything going? Are you using your over-the-counter allowance? You know, that's one of the things I ask my clients when I sit down with them is, do you need a quarterly reminder? Like, do you want me to touch base with you quarterly to remind you to use this over-the-counter allowance? And so I put them on my spreadsheet and make sure that I'm touching point with them either by calling, texting if they prefer that. Um, and then my new referrals, I call immediately. You get a referral, guys, call them immediately. Do not sit on it until the next day. Don't, while you're working up the courage to call, because I've been there too. Call immediately. Referrals are extremely important.
So I don't remember when you jumped into Medicare. When did you begin Medicare?
So I got into Medicare mid 2022. So into the 2023 AEP just last fall, I had 2 Medicare clients, like, that's it. So, what I have now was based solely off of the 2023 AEP.
So you followed, I was just like trying to remember if you followed my advice or not, but you came in and started in August and you did not do Medicare that first AEP, right?
No, no, it was, I wanna say April of 2022, I went through the Medicare training, and by June or July, I think I had gotten through all the certification with all the different carriers, waiting on that to come through. Um, and then I got my first turning 65 client. And then I had a second one like in August, and then the 2022 hit. So
How many Medicare clients do you have today?
today I am up to, let's see, I've got 5 that are in the works. We're waiting on their A and B to become effective. So about 95 right now. My goal is to have 100 before we go into the AEP.
So just to give you guys some perspective, so in her first, or I'm sorry, from the time she started with her AEP, so that was the end of 2022, all of 2023 and half of 2024, you've built up close to 100 clients, which is close to a $30,000 like revenue base, right? Like residual income coming off of those clients. Because, once you write somebody on Medicare, the renewal commissions are right around $300 a month, per member. And if you're right at 100, that's about 30,000, right? So that's and obviously everything else stacks on top of that then. But that's a really nice base that you've been able, to put together here. Really inside of, 2 years about, right? Yep. That's good. So referrals, let's talk a little bit about referrals. I know you have a lot that come in, but do you have any data, like how many referrals you're bringing in, how many come in, what you do to cultivate referrals? Are there specific things you do that you think drive referrals? Love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah. Um, so I do track my referrals, but I track them by household, so I don't track it. So for a Medicare, if you've got a married couple, technically you've got 2 clients out of that, but I just track it by the household. So since January of 2022, I've brought in 60 referrals, so 60 households. Many of those are actually double duplicates because they're married couples. Um, so I establish a relationship with every single one of my clients. You want to trust you. You want your clients to like you. If you have those 2 things, they will not hesitate to tell everybody about you. And I remember it took me a while before I started asking for referrals because it feels awkward, right? Like you feel like you're asking your client for a favor. Um, but if you've served them well, I have clients now who will call and say, "Oh, I told so and so about you, and they said that they were going to call." I have a client here locally who has said, "Like, oh, I've told so many people about you, Emily. You're going to be rich." The best thing that you can hear. Um, I send thank you notes to every single one of my clients, handwritten thank you notes. I send them the day of the appointment, which this time of year, not as big of a deal, but during the AEP last year, I know that that was a huge driver for my business. I didn't have to take a single lead during the AEP last year. All of my business was just self-propelling and referrals were coming in because I was sending my thank you notes out the same day of the appointment. And then 3 days later, my phone would ring in, "Hey, so-and-so said I should give you a call." So I know it was working.
So what, you said you started asking for it. What's your verbiage? What are you saying to ask someone for referrals?
Use basically the template that you guys provide. Like, has this been helpful for you? And do you know of anybody that may benefit from this that I could talk to that, that maybe you've heard them say that they need some help or they don't understand something? And it works. I mean, with my thank you note, I think it's just as simple like if you know of anybody who may benefit from my services, I'd greatly appreciate the referral. It's the best compliment an agent can receive. If here's a card for your fridge, so give them a magnet, and here's one for a friend.
Yep, that's great. Let's talk about marketing a little bit because you have done a lot to market your business. And you and I had a great meeting last week, just kind of talking about what you're thinking. I know your mind is always spinning on, okay, what's a new creative way to get my information out there and to get in front of people. So, and I know you've got a lot of things spinning. So do you just kind of want to walk through maybe the things that you've done and the collateral that you currently have in market?
So I am not a marketing expert. I sought the help when I first started thinking about, okay, I've got a little bit of money now, and so I can start looking at some marketing plans. Um, I reached out to Kevin McIntyre and said, hey, can I take you to lunch? So don't hesitate to reach out to the agents around you to ask them what they're doing. That's part of what's so great about our team is that they're willing to be there and listen. Um, so right now, I currently have one billboard up. I have a grandmother-in-law with a piece of property on a highway. So we said, hey, Grandma, can we build a billboard on your property? And she said, sure, absolutely. So I've got another billboard that's going up on 931. I've got um, a radio partnership. So I'm on a local radio station here in Plymouth, and they have me on air several times a year just to talk about my business, talk about insurance. And I run ads through them. I am taking part in the Marshall County Senior Expo, so I take part in events, and there's some print surrounding that. So they put out a magazine right before the launch, and it goes out in the local paper. So I'll be in that. There's the Blueberry Festival down in Plymouth. I think most everybody's heard of the Blueberry Festival. There's a magazine that goes out for that, and I've got a full page ad going into that. What else am I doing? Let's see.
Didn't you do some advertising inside of a restaurant or a brewery or something early on?
I did do that. Yes, thank you, Silas. Yes, there was a brewery that reached out and they had a full page or a full board that was being installed. And so I worked with an art company back when we could still do that. Now everything has to go through marketing on demand, but they were able to create a piece of artwork for my ad to run on there for 30 seconds at a time for, I think it was like 18 hours a day that was running. Also my local nail salon, like I'm just paying them 20 bucks and I've got them running a piece of my artwork across their TV screen that, like, you know, you get all this artwork pushed through compliance. You might as well put it up wherever you can get it. So it's like, I'm just paying them cash, 20 bucks a month. So,
What about walking and talking? Is that something you did early on? Did you walk and engage with small businesses, or what did that look like for you?
I did do that. I did not do that as much as some of the other new agents. So there was Joel Mulder started at the exact same time as I did, and that's where he really shined with the walk and talks. I did not do that. That's not my comfort zone. So I did it when I first started out because I was making sure I hit all of the different areas that are recommended. But it's not my strong suit, so I'm not focusing on that now. I do still reach out to local companies, and I'll pop in if I'm in the area, and especially if it's a business I know that and that I've worked with, but I'm not just driving around to random businesses at this point.
Yeah. So do you have any concept around like what kind of investment you're making into marketing at this point? Because some of these things, billboards seem like a really big thing for some people, you know, or being on the radio seems like a really expensive thing. You know, what kind of output are you, like monetary wise, are you spending?
2023, I spent approximately $8,000 on marketing. This year it's upwards of 10,000 that I'm spending. But I've got my Lead Connect account leveraged. So am I really spending any of my own money? No.
Right.
I mean, like, all right, yeah, is it my money? Sure it is. Like, I've invested in it, but Health Markets is partnered on that. So
Right. Right. No, that's great. So talking about supplemental and life sales, because I know you've had some successes there. Obviously, anybody who's found success in our business learns at some level how to cross sell. Do you want to maybe talk through your approach, maybe some of the products that you know see as most valuable, and kind of how you engage consumers when it comes to supplemental and life insurance sales?
having a conversation with your clients, it's so true. If you just have a conversation with your clients, you're going to find out what is important to them, things that they've had family members be impacted by that are going to feel, they're going to feel passionately about those products. Um, So the products that I focus on are the accident wise in the under 65 market, pairs greatly. The new mental health product, I've got a few clients that I've already reached out to and said, like, hey, we have talked about how important your mental health is to you. This may be a great product for you. So I'm not sleeping on that one. And then the heart attack, cancer, and stroke. Um, Life insurance, absolutely. Like I'll touch on that, but I don't push that conversation as much. I let that happen a little bit more organically.
Mhm.
Um, but the heart attack, cancer, stroke, accident wise, everybody's gonna ask about dental vision. Like that's easy. It doesn't really take a whole lot to push those sales, but I have those products on myself. I don't sell my clients anything that I wouldn't have on myself. Um, and I told you, Silas, like, hey, I'm in the process right now of filing on an accident claim because I injured myself. So that's going to be a really great selling point for me to be able to use for my clients that, hey guys, I have this on myself and it works. Like I just got paid.
Right.
So
Right. So I know you're pretty organized with things. What when you make a sale, what does that post-sale process actually look like? What do you do after you've made the sale?
so I come home, I put my notes in the CRM about the appointment. I track the conversation that I had with my clients, CYA, like this is what we talked about, this is what they said. We discussed that, hey, they were eligible for the cost sharing reductions in a silver level plan, but they wanted the $0 monthly premium bronze level plan. Track that information. I put them on my client line of business spreadsheet. So I don't just use the CRM and rely solely on that because I feel like the search function isn't super friendly. Um, you can get a lot of feedback in that. So I put on the spreadsheet name, date of birth, address. It's password protected, by the way. Um, and what products they have. What is their member number with the company that they're in? So that way it's all in on one spreadsheet. If they call me and they want that information, I can pull it up immediately for them. It's right there. That's also where I put in my touch points with them. So I've got empty columns that I just put an X in, like, did you circle back with this client this month? Um, I send them their thank you note immediately. I create a file folder for them, and then I put it on my calendar to circle back with them in a couple of weeks.
And that's more of a policy review type conversation when you're circling back?
Policy review, as well as, hey, did you get your cards? Have you set up your doctor's appointment? Like, hey, I know you said you didn't have a doctor. Do you want to talk about like finding one now? Can I send you any lists? Anything like that.
Yeah, that's good. Do you use any other, I mean, I know you've got kind of your organic spreadsheet you use, but do you have any other third-party technologies that you use or leverage?
Not at this point in time, no. I fully intend on, if Retire Flow does not, for whatever reason, launch before they AEP, I will be utilizing that.
Yeah. And I think we're 7 to 10 days out from an announcement on that. We're just finalizing contracts and things like that. So I think that's gonna be good. So just looking forward, I mean, you've got a little bit of experience under your belt. You got a couple of years of kind of figuring out how this works. Do you have anything that you're going to change in your practice moving forward, or things that you're looking at, enhancing or developing, or new ideas that you want to implement in your business looking forward?
Obviously, this year I'm increasing my marketing some. I joined a BNI chapter just in the past couple of months as another way to try to increase referrals, and having that business partnership. I have begun wearing the Health Markets logo everywhere, all the time. So on Marketing on Demand, you can get the Health Markets cotton t-shirts. They're like $8 a piece. So I've just like bought them in bulk. And that's what I wear during the weekend. If you see me out, I'm gonna have a Health Markets shirt on. Because all it takes is that people seeing you constantly and seeing you wear the logo. Silas, I told you, I was in the grocery store like a week and a half ago, and I have a couple that are whispering to each other, and they're saying, hey, that's the girl. She's the one that she's got a billboard right by our house. And I got on the Health Markets shirt, so they're able to associate it.
Yeah, no, that's really good. So I want to just a little bit. You mentioned BNI. For those of you that might be new, that's specifically Business Network International, I think is the acronym for that. You want to tell everybody a little bit about what that is and why you thought that was a good investment?
Yeah. So you get all of these small businesses, they come together and you've got one person in each individual field. So in your chapter, there cannot be another person who works in health insurance and or Medicare. So you partner with property and casualty agents, you partner with financial professionals, you're partnering with lawn guys and roofing people. You all come together, meet once a week, and you give a sales pitch. This is the type of referral that I'm looking for right now. This is what I do in my business. It's basically an elevator pitch. And then these other businesses, they're listening for people around them who are looking for that type of assistance, and they send referrals your way. So
Did you visit several different groups, or did you just settle on the first one that you connected with, or what did that process look like?
So I knew I wanted to be close to home because I am trying to dig deep into my community, because Plymouth is not at all saturated with health insurance agents. There are, like, you've got your State Farm, your Farm Bureau, and then there's really one other company in Plymouth. Two sort of, but Sandra, like St. Joe has seriously dialed back their practice. So I knew, like, Plymouth, there's exponential growth that's available for me. So I ideally wanted to be in Plymouth. They had an agent recently, which is why I had not joined. I looked at joining Rochester, but it was a really small group. And the timing just wasn't great for that. So I really knew I wanted to get into the Plymouth chapter. So I held out for them.
What about other centers of influence? You mentioned, State Farm property and casualty agents, financial planners. Have you had any successes partnering with other professionals to cross pollinate and share referrals and things like that?
Got a couple of property and casualty partnerships outside of BNI as well. There were a couple down in Kokomo that have sent me several referrals, and then I've in turn sent them some referrals when people need assistance. I've got, see, Silas, you sent out the email about Edward Jones. I actually worked with the former owner of Edward Jones in Bremen for a while, so I need to reach out. I know it's his son that's running the practice now. They've sent me a few referrals as well. Yeah, I mean, I'm still relatively new, so still building all of that.
Right. What are you enjoying most about the work you do, the organization, why health markets? Do you have any thoughts, just being a few short years in on all of that?
I love what I do. I love helping people. I'm a people pleaser by nature, so this is a very good fit for me here. I have a freedom that I never thought that I would have. I have the ability to grow this business into something that I never knew I would be able to achieve. In my prior field, I was told that I was capped out. Like, this is the most you're ever going to earn. And I told myself getting into the business, I gave myself 3 years. I wanted to surpass what I was told my max was that I would earn in my prior position. It took me 2. It took me 2 years, and I've already surpassed like what my max was. My husband and I have the ability that if we don't have anything on the calendar for the following week and we want to take off, we can. Like that's amazing. We want to have a second home in Florida, and that was a pipe dream for us a few years ago. And now it's a 10-year goal. So I'm gonna get teary-eyed. This is the best opportunity that you will ever have in your life. Do not sleep on it.
I tend to agree. It's been a tremendous blessing for myself and my family, and it's so fun for me to see you and others come into this with no experience doing what we do, but within a couple of years figuring it out and changing the trajectory of your income, your financial situation, and through that changing the trajectory of your life and your family, right? I mean, that's a really, really big thing to talk about. But it's so cool. And so honestly, I remember when I moved into leadership back in 2005, I loved the sales process. I got such a rush. It was almost like a drug to me, like getting that sale, that rush that you got from getting that sale. And I remember thinking I don't know if I can ever get this kind of rush, like leading people or training people or help. But I will tell you, from my vantage point today, it's a much bigger rush to help someone change the trajectory of their financial situation and their personal life and how they think about what they want to do downstream. Like that's a much bigger rush than I could have ever imagined. So part of this is just reconfirming that we've got a really, really good thing going on, and I'm so happy you're a part of it. So I think you are a little bit closer to the ground than some of our tier 4 agents, I would say, as far as remembering and it just hasn't been the too distant past when you really had to grind to get things off the ground. So, do you have any advice or observations or maybe a couple of things that you believe most agents or especially newer agents could be and should be doing now to make sure that they find success in this particular career path?
Yeah. Educate yourself. Like that's number one. Ask questions from the career agents. So they're all here to help. They want to be there as a resource point for you. But one of the things that I do, like find a YouTube channel. Like I'll just sit here and I'm addressing envelopes and I'm writing my letters at night, like, sitting on my bed at night until probably 11 o'clock most nights. And I'm just writing letters because it doesn't feel like work. Like if you turn something on in the background, it's not a big deal. Put the time into it because at some point, like, and I'm still doing it to this day, you guys. I'll probably be doing it for several more years. But then the capacity that we have, the ability that you can grow, and you're going to get to the point that do you need to have a staff member? Do you want to have a staff member? Those are going to be the conversations you get to start to have if you put in the work. But number one is starting out by educating yourself because you need to be the experts for your clients. And I remember before my first appointment sitting there, I probably spent 2 hours like poring over the plan details and trying to amp myself up before my very first appointment. And I just told that client at the beginning of the OEP last year, I said, you were my very first client. And she said, I never would have known that. She said, I never would have guessed that. You seem like such an expert. So making sure that you educate yourself is number one. Joining a BNI chapter, because I truly believe, like, if I could have done it 2 years ago, I would probably be in a very different place than I am right now. I don't regret the path that my business has taken because I've been able to grow organically, but that's I think going to be a huge growth opportunity for new agents and asking for the flippin' referrals.
Yeah. So how hard are you grinding now? Like when you think about it, how many hours a week are you putting in? Is this something you're like 60 hours a week, 30 hours a week? What's a typical week looking like for you? How much effort is it requiring right now to continue doing what you're doing?
Now, I sit in my office like a normal 9 to 5 job. Like I make sure I'm at least putting in my 40 hours a week. And then the things that I do in the evening, like I said, to me, it honestly doesn't feel like work. So I don't really count it. I said, like, I'll tell Matthew, my husband, I'm like, oh, I work 40 hours a week. He's like, 40, really? like, no, you're working more like 50 to 60. Like, but it doesn't feel like it to me. So, if all I'm doing is addressing envelopes at night and stuff, like that doesn't feel like work. It just feels like an investment.
Yeah, I would agree with you though. I think that it's a double-edged sword because I've kind of gotten to that point in my life too, where my business is not only my business, but it's one of my hobbies. And so I enjoy getting up on a Saturday or a Sunday morning and checking numbers and responding to emails and seeing what's going on in the business. Like I get excited about that, So, and I think not everybody's like an insurance nerd like us, right? So not everybody enjoys that, but I think if you do enjoy it and you can find fulfillment and satisfaction in what we do, it's a pretty awesome thing to be able to do something that you love.
Starting out, especially as a new agent for your clients, like they're really going to appreciate that if they send you a text message on a Saturday asking you a question, that they don't have to wait until Monday to get a response and you're going to be there. And then once you start to build your practice enough to just tell them like, hey, I'm really trying to shift away from working on the weekends as much. And they're going to say like, yeah, absolutely, no problem, because you've been there for them in the past. So they're going to understand that.
Right. Well, Emily, this has been excellent. I appreciate your time today. I appreciate all that you're doing. Honestly, you've been one of the most enjoyable agents. We have a lot of agents, and I really enjoy working with many of them. But you've been a lot of fun to work with. You've been very low maintenance. When you need something, you ask, and we try to get it solved. But at the same time, I've seen you, cross the T's and dot the I's in a way that has led you to some pretty incredible growth. And if you can keep this average of 100% income growth year over year, you're going to be someplace special in just a couple of years, right?
It's the goal.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, do you have any final thoughts or anything you'd like to share before we wrap things up today?
Hold yourself accountable. Do the work. Because I know exactly how you feel, because I can remember exactly how I felt. It's only been a couple of years ago, starting out. You guys have this incredible, incredible opportunity. It will change your life. You will have the ability to change your family's lives. And you keep hearing it. And so I know it just sounds like it's such a sales pitch at this point, but truly this is an amazing opportunity. Thank you, Silas, for giving me the opportunity to do this, because I feel so blessed every single day that this is what I get to do with my life now. And you guys are in the exact same position. So just be thankful, put in the work, and watch your life change.
Yeah, right on. Well, very well said. Well, thank you for your time today. I very much appreciate you taking the hour out to do this with us. I think new agents will benefit from this. We are going to be back next week, guys. I've got one of our top agents, Mr. Tony Letcher. He's always entertaining. He's always got something to say. I'm going to give him a platform next week to share some thoughts and some insights with you. So I'd encourage you guys, join us next week. Good luck this week on your sales and your appointments. If you need anything, don't hesitate to reach out to Sandra, myself, your sales leader. We'll certainly do everything we can to help you. But thanks for being here today. And thanks again, Emily. You did an excellent job today.
Thank you.
All right. Take care, everybody. Have a good week. See ya.
Thank you. Bye.